Welcome back to Ian's Fish Room. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about a plant that probably doesn't get nearly enough attention in the aquarium hobby. The plant I'm going to be talking about today is Subwassertang. I'm going to tell you the three things that I love about Subwassertang. Besides having just an unusual name, Subwassertang is also a little bit of an unusual plant. Sometimes you'll hear people mislabel Subwassertang as a moss or a freshwater seaweed, and it is neither of those. What Subwassertang is actually considered is a fern. Now, in my opinion, I don't know why they consider it a fern. I'm not that well versed in how they determine those things, but I have to agree really strongly with, if I was going to come up with a name for it, I would call it a freshwater seaweed. I remember when I was a kid going to the beach and going swimming, and I'd be at the ocean, I'm swimming in the water, and all of a sudden I'd get smacked in the face with this big old chunk of green seaweed. And it was gross. I hated when it happened. But if you've ever had that experience going to the ocean, you probably know what I'm talking about, swimming in the water there, and sometimes that seaweed just comes up and gets you. And that's basically the way this plant is it is just like that green seaweed that maybe you swam with at the ocean. It just has that same texture, that same feel, but obviously it's in fresh water.
Here we can take a closer look at the Subwassertang, and as you can see, Subwassertang has lots of really small branches that come off of this plant, and all of those branches, you can just rip this plant basically in half anywhere you want, and each one of those pieces is going to start reproducing. The way it reproduces is through fragmentation, which basically means break off a piece and it's going to develop into a new plant. Subwassertang is only one cell layer thick, which actually gives it that little bit of a transparent look, where you can even see a little bit of the color of my fingers underneath the leaves.
If you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The first thing I like to use Subwassertang for is for aquascaping. So this is a plant that is really good for the bottom of your tank. It can be a really good carpeting plant. And one of the cool things about Subwassertang is you can put it in your tank, and initially it'll float because it has all the air bubbles under it. But once it starts getting rid of those air bubbles, Subwassertang will actually sink to the bottom on its own. And so I actually use this in bare bottom tanks as a plant down there at the bottom, and it does a great job for me. But you could also, if you put it in a tank where you have some gravel or you have some rocks or wood and you want to stick it on that, the Subwassertang will actually start to attach itself to those things as well. So whether you have a bare bottom or you have, some gravel or something else, Subwassertang is a great plant for that bottom part of your tank. It's just going to sit there really well for you and do a great job looking like a really nice carpet. In my opinion, another great use for this plant is with your shrimp colonies. If maybe you don't have great luck growing mosses, and sometimes some waters won't grow mosses as well, Subwassertang might be the plant you're looking for as an alternative. It does really well with some of the softer water, whereas most of your mosses like harder water. And so Subwassertang really is pretty hardy. It can grow in just about any type of water, but it will grow in that softer water and does well there for you. Now, most plants do like cooler water, and so Subwassertang is no different. It does really well in that water that's 75 and below, and it's going to do really well, even in some of the colder, probably down even to like 40. So it has a very wide range. But in my tank, I even have it up at 80 degrees, and even at 80 degrees, it's still growing. It may be growing a little bit slower than if I had it in colder water, but it's doing really well even in that warmer water, still growing for me, still multiplying. And so it really does have a wide variety of parameters that this plant can do well in. A third use for Subwassertang, in my opinion, is that it is great for those egg layer fish. You can use it in a breeding box and breed your fish in a breeding box with the Subwassertang, or you can just put it in that bare bottom tank like I was talking about. Leave your egg layers there, let them swim around, lay their eggs. It's going to drop through that Subwassertang right to the bottom, and it's going to be a great place for those fry to grow up. You remove the adult fish, those fry are going to be able to grow up in that Subwassertang, have lots of hiding places as they grow, makes them feel comfortable, and it's going to be a great environment for them. So the third reason I love Subwassertang is this is great for breeding those egg laying fish. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you go over here and check out my plant playlist.